Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll just get started in a couple of minutes. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Today, we'll be talking about how to eliminate friction in customer experience, a unified approach with ServiceNow and in any contact center provider. So let's get started. My name is Navya Pandiri. I lead the outbound product for contact centers specifically at ServiceNow. I have been in this domain for more than 17 years. So we're very happy to be here joining you all today and discussing about how we can improve the customer experience. So with that, just a quick, before we dive in, this presentation may contain forward-looking statements that are based on the current information that's available to us and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. A few more housekeeping items. Firstly, we would love to invite you to join our upcoming webinars and 360 exchanges. These are great opportunities to engage with the team and community. So feel free to take a screenshot of the slide or check the links that we'll post in the chat. They'll also be included at the end of the presentation. A few more notes to make this session smooth for everyone. Please use the Q&A tab in Zoom to submit your question. Note that we will not be monitoring the chat for questions, so please use the Q&A tab, and we will try to tackle as many Q&A questions as possible while the session is progressing. My colleague here, Kimlin Du, will be answering those questions. And if there are any remaining questions, we'll try and address them towards the end, or we'll take them offline, depending on how much time we have left. And yes, the session will be recorded and will be shared on the ServiceNow community as well as YouTube after the event. And we would love to get your feedback. So please take a moment to complete the short survey at the end so we can continue to improve these sessions. So with that, let's jump right in. So this is the agenda that I have set for today. We'll talk about the product strategy, the state of the contact center integration today, so we can ground ourselves in what has been available until today, and what this new contact center integration framework that we launched in March this year, what does it entail? And we'll dive into demo. And then towards the end, we'll talk about implementation as well, so that you don't just know what we released and why we released, but you will also walk away with how do you go about implementing it. So let's get started. So today, customers' expectations are reshaping how businesses must engage, right? They expect fast, personalized, effortless service across any touch point, right? And they expect agents to recognize them, understand their needs, and resolve their issues without having to repeat themselves. But the reality is that the self-service often leads to dead ends. And agents toggle between disconnected tools, back office teams are operating in silos, and supervisors rely on fragmented after the fact reporting, right? Even the best tools are often stitched together with human middleware. And when the pressure hits, like let's say you have a product launch, you have an outage, or maybe a volume spike, the cracks show immediately, right? That's the state of the customer experience, which is quite painful. And the impact is quite real, right? Customers' experience is now the #1 brand differentiator, more important than pricing, and sometimes even more important than the product. And customers are 4x more likely to churn or leave a brand due to poor customer experience than any other reason, which is astounding, right? So those who actually get their issues resolved on the first interaction, on the contrary, actually report up to 90% higher satisfaction. So that's why we believe that this status quo is no longer acceptable, and it's time to move from fragmented experience to orchestrated experience and from reactive to proactive resolution. So let's see how that's possible. So at ServiceNow, we believe great customer experience is actually not stitched together, but orchestrated at its core, right? And we already power that experience across the entire digital landscape. So we offer conversational generative AI-powered self-service across all the digital channels. We offer intelligent routing through our advanced work assignment engine. We also offer a unified agent workspace, which brings together all the context for the agent not just from the data that is available within the ServiceNow platform, but you can also bring together the entire context and 360-degree information from third-party platforms as well. So the agent is not swivel chairing. And then we also offer seamless case management, fulfillment, generative AI summaries, playbooks, and back office automation. Again, the goal is first call resolution and how we can get the work to seamlessly flow from front, middle, and back office while giving visibility to the agents and the customers. But one thing that is missing from this equation is voice, right? Voice is a channel that ServiceNow doesn't offer natively, but we do understand that voice is quite critical. Typically, when customers are frustrated and feel vulnerable or facing complex issues, they want to pick up the phone and talk to someone. That's where contact center platforms play a key role, because that's one of the primary channels that contact center platforms offer, which is the voice channel. But the contact center platforms also offer other channels like digital channels. There is routing, there is workforce optimization. So there is some overlap there. Now that we have two systems that need to come together in a cohesive way to drive the personalized, effortless experiences, it is quite important that they have a framework in place that integrate or bring together both the systems cohesively. So that's why orchestration is no longer optional, it's essential at this point. And it's the reason that we have reimagined the contact center integration strategy from the ground up. And over the past many years, our voice framework helped contact centers, platforms, helped bring the contact center platforms into the ServiceNow workspace. So as you can see here, we have several components that are part of the ServiceNow voice framework. I've also listed other components here which are not necessarily part of the voice framework, but they bring together the end-to-end contact center experience in a much more seamless way. So for example, the components on the customer side, we have components that help improve deflection. We have components that help improve the agent productivity. And then from a supervisor perspective, we have components or the integration points that actually help lower operational overhead and lower costs. So in terms of functionality itself, I would say that you can see that there is a CTI that is embedded inside ServiceNow configurable workspace. So first of all, no swivel chairing for an agent between the contact center platform and the ServiceNow agent workspace. And the second thing is, since two platforms are involved here, it is quite crucial for both the platforms' presence to talk to each other so that both the platforms can deliver the voice channel, the other can deliver the digital and the cases and such in a more effective way, in a more coordinated way. So we have presence synchronization APIs also available. In addition to that, we have APIs that will allow the contact center platform to stream the real-time transcription. Again, these are just a few examples of what the integration entails, like before the contact center integration framework was launched. This is what we had in place before March. And this framework, the voice framework, we partnered with leading contact center vendors, and all of them had published certified applications on the store. And many of you have already implemented these capabilities. So based on the contact center platform you use, you're probably already using a variation of this integration today. But we also saw where things were falling short. And that's where the new contact center integration comes into play. But let's talk about where we were actually falling short, right? So there were three major gaps that became really clear to us. One is, depending on how the customer is reaching out to a business, let's say they're reaching out via one of the ServiceNow digital channels. Of course, we will try and front-end it with the ServiceNow digital self-service modalities. So to try and deflect that chat or case or email or other messaging channels, right? But if deflection is not possible, ServiceNow has advanced work assignment engine, which looks at the context and identifies which agent and queue should that work item or interaction be routed to. Similarly, if a customer is reaching out via one of the CCaaS channels, which is voice is the primary channel, and that's what we have listed here, they also have self-service and deflection capabilities through their IVR. And if self-service and deflection is not possible, CCaaS has their own routing engine as well, contact center platforms. And ultimately, when they decide that, okay, this queue and this agent needs to get the call, it is typically delivered within the embedded CTI. Now, assuming that you have this experience enabled for your contact center, right? So let's say you don't have this enabled. There are many businesses where there are swivel sharing between the contact center workspace and the ServiceNow configurable workspace as well. But the crux here is that you have two platforms that are making the routing decisions, which is not optimal, especially in case of volume spikes. It takes away the agility from the admin to make quick changes. And from an agent perspective, even though we are trying to unify the experience and eliminate the swivel chair, there is still inconsistency in experience, right? The agent has to remember how to handle the voice channel a certain way that's being delivered by the contact center platform. They have to figure out how to handle the case or digital channels from ServiceNow a certain way. And the tools that are available between both the channels may not be same as well. They may not have access to the same tools. So that's another downside. And moving further along, even from reporting perspective, since the channels are split between both the platforms, you often run into issues where the reporting is not unified. And the impact of that, for example, is if you're using WFO from ServiceNow, or if you're using WEM or WFO from third-party contact center platforms, they don't have the channel data or interaction data across all channels, which means that you cannot accurately predict, you cannot accurately forecast volumes and accurately schedule, right? So those are the three problem areas that we had identified. Fragmented routing, agent workflows are inconsistent, and reporting is siloed. In terms of unified routing of voice on ServiceNow, so we saw those three pillars where there is inconsistency in agent experience, but the first pillar was there is fragmented routing, right? There are two platforms that are actually making routing decisions. So if you take a look at this slide, this is something that we launched in March last year as part of the Washington release. And the goal there was, if you are using voice channel from CCaaS, you will have the ability, if let's say if escalation is required for the voice channel and they're requiring live agent assistance, the voice channel could be routed to ServiceNow's AWA, and the advanced work assignment engine on the ServiceNow side will be able to take that voice work item and deliver that within the ServiceNow agent inbox. So this framework has been available for more than a year. This was to solve the first pillar, but also in the subsequent slides, you will see how we are extending this to give you flexibility to consolidate the same routing of all channels on the contact center platform as well. So, and we have a reference implementation for AWS Connect today. So feel free to check that out if you're already on the Amazon Connect platform. But if you're using other contact center platforms, definitely share that documentation with your CCaaS provider and see what they can do in terms of routing the voice channel through the ServiceNow's AWA. So moving on, now that we talked about three areas and we talked about how we had already solved for that routing, fragmented routing piece in Washington, I wanted to introduce the contact center integration framework that we launched in March 2025 this year. And the goal of this framework is to bring together two platforms in a seamless way, right? And so here we are moving beyond embedded CTI, fragmented routing engines, and siloed after-the-fact reporting. And a few key things to note here are, on the CCaaS side, we will now offer flexibility to consolidate routing on the contact center platform to eliminate fragmented routing. And on the ServiceNow side, you will notice that ServiceNow will be the single pane of glass for your frontline agents, which means that all your CCaaS channels will have a native experience within ServiceNow Agent Workspace. And ServiceNow will continue to be your CRM platform and workflow-driven system of action. And from the CCaaS side, whatever they bring to the table in terms of the cloud telephony, maybe they're specialized in quality management, maybe they're specialized in WFO, those key strengths are also offered or power this unified experience. And the key strengths from the contact center platform vary from CCaaS platform to platform, but just know that the unified routing is consistently supported, which is consolidating all the routing on the contact center platform. And wherever there is overlap, such as virtual agents or chat and messaging, which both the platforms offer, you will notice that we are giving customers a seamless choice. So irrespective of where you choose the chat from or virtual agents from or AI from, your agents will continue to have that consistent experience. So with that, let's actually take a look at what I mean by unified routing, right, on the contact center platform. So earlier you noticed that in Washington, we launched a framework which was allowing you to consolidate everything on the ServiceNow platform, right, in terms of the voice routing through ServiceNow's AWA. As an extension to that, you can now take ServiceNow cases and chats. And if for some reason, if you're not able to deflect them and if they need assisted service or live agent service, they can be sent to your contact center platform, which is where the contact center platform will look at the metadata associated with the interaction and identify which agent should it be delivered to. And once they make that routing decision, the work item will show up within the ServiceNow agent inbox like you see here on this screenshot, right? This means from an admin perspective, they will be maintaining queues, skills, and routing policies on a single platform instead of trying to maintain that in two different platforms. Especially in case of volume spikes, I think that will come in really handy. Let's say you have a volume spike in voice queues, and if you want to switch a few agents from your chat queue and case queue into voice call queues, since you have all of that in one platform, you don't have to worry about making those changes in two different places, right? So that's one small example of how it could impact and provide a quick ROI. In terms of the backend, how it works, once case or chat or any messaging is initiated on the ServiceNow side, what will happen is that work item, if the deflection is not possible, will go to AWA queue still. So AWA is still working behind the scenes, but each queue will have an external flag set up, and that external flag will allow you to tie the ServiceNow queue to the parameters configured within your contact center. And AWA will then take a copy of that work item and insert it within your contact center platform queuing, which is where the CCaaS will capture the work item, look at the context, and make the routing decision. Once the routing decision is made, the contact center platform will then call the AWA so that AWA can then present the work item within the inbox. So this is what the end-to-end flow would look like. And one thing I wanted to highlight here is that the queues, skills, and the and wrap-up quotes also, which is another item that I'll talk about later. All of these, your source will be the contact center platform. However, we will maintain a copy of that queue, a copy of that skill within the ServiceNow platform. And these are used for initial skill determination logic, for example, because the chat is originating on our end. So we can use those list of skills from CCaaS to do that skill determination. We will also be using queues for things like transfer to queue, initiating those things during the live call. Okay, but even though we are saying that we will maintain a copy of those skills and queue, I want to assure you that we have launched a contact center admin console, which will make it seamless for you to do that sync between the contact center platform and ServiceNow platform. So you can simply navigate to this page. You can import all the skills and queues and automatically sync them from your CCaaS platform into ServiceNow. So there's no manual work anymore. And in terms of the agent assignments, you will do all of that within the CCaaS platform. So with that, let's move on to the next pillar, which is we saw how there is inconsistency in agent experience across the channels and how depending on where the channel is originating from, you might have different tools available, right? To solve that pillar, we have established that ServiceNow will be your single pane of glass for your frontline agents. And what I mean by that is all the channels, whether it's a ServiceNow case, ServiceNow chat, or if it's a phone call from your contact center provider, all of them will be delivered within ServiceNow agent inbox. So the ServiceNow agent inbox will serve as the omnichannel inbox for your one unified inbox for your frontline agents. And moreover, let's take voice call for as an example, because it's not a native channel, right? So when the agent accepts the voice call, they will also have access to native call controls within the ServiceNow configurable workspace. And this is what it would look like. We will do a demo later on, but these call controls are powered by the contact center platform behind the scenes. Okay, so you can see you have access to hold, unhold, mute, consult transfer, blind transfer, conferencing, and things like that. So all the call controls that typically you would have access to within the CCaaS platform, you will have access to natively within the ServiceNow agent workspace. And on the right side, rest of the ServiceNow configurable workspace capabilities such as contextual information, 360 information about who the caller is, who initiated a chat, all of that is anyways there, and it can be customized to bring in data from third-party platforms as well, providing that 360-degree view to the agent. But more importantly, I want to highlight this extensible framework, which I'll touch upon a few examples later on in my demo. But this entire UI is also extensible, which means that if you're using certain tools within your contact center platform, if your agents are used to a certain tools, those can be seamlessly weaved into the ServiceNow agent workspace. So agents can take advantage of tools not only native to ServiceNow, but also tools that are from contact center platforms that they use on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And you can also see there is a call transcript section here. So this is a placeholder where the contact center platforms can stream the real-time transcription. This is specifically key if you're trying to take the transcription and drive the post-call work, such as automatic call summarization or automatic resolution notes creation at the end of the conversation. So depending on the contact center provider, some may or may not, depending on the CCaaS provider, they may or may not support it, but this framework is available to the contact center platform. So just going behind the scenes in terms of what the end-to-end call flow would look like, customer initiates a voice call. It will land within the contact center's IVR platform. IVR is the first hop for the call. And the IVR will try and gather context, maybe even try to deflect the conversation. If that deflection is not possible, and if the customer is asking for live agent service, that is when the contact center platform will talk to AWA behind the scenes, and AWA will then offer the call to the live agent. Okay. And as you can see, the IVR, by the way, on a side note, IVR has access to the entire ServiceNow platform, so it can drive personalization. Such as, hey, John, thank you for calling in. I see that you already have an open case with us. Is this what you're calling about? So those kind of experiences, of course, as a side note, can be implemented within the IVR. So on the same note, as you saw, what we are trying to do here is provide one unified workspace for the agent so they don't have to ever swivel chair to the CCaaS workspace. So we wanted to give them everything from accepting the interaction, working on the interaction, to closing the interaction as well. So on that note, we have launched something called Interaction Wrap-Up. And this will allow, this will actually fetch all the reason codes or disposition codes that are configured within your contact center platform and display them directly within this wrap-up modal. And this modal will automatically populate as soon as the call ends. And this is also applicable to all the other ServiceNow native channels as well. So the agents have consistent post-call or post-interaction experience across all channels, whether the channel is from the CCaaS or from ServiceNow. Okay. And by the way, just as a side note, with the roadmap disclaimer, we will be launching AI wrap-up as well, which will automatically generate a wrap-up code and notes. So that's something that's coming up. So on the same note, when we say ServiceNow is the single pane of glass, we also understand and acknowledge that some of you may be relying on the contact center platform for your chats, for your callbacks, voicemails, and things like that. So no matter what you're using on the CCaaS platform, we wanted to make sure that you have the native experience. So as you can see, this is a chat from the CCaaS, but it looks like a native chat. However, one caveat is that any chat controls that we offer for this contact center chats may differ from our native chats because it depends on what the CCaaS actually supports, right? So based on what they support, the agents will see those chat controls. Now let's take a look at what the end-to-end chat flow looks like. Customer initiates a web chat or any other messaging channel that is native to the CCaaS platform. Since it's native to the CCaaS platform, it is front-ended by a chatbot technology that is also native to the CCaaS platform. The chatbot, however, has access to all the metadata within ServiceNow to drive personalization as well as automation to fully deflect the chat conversation. However, let's say that the deflection is not possible, chatbot can then escalate it to a live agent based on the context that has been captured. At that point, the contact center platform can trigger advanced work assignment engine's assignment API so that the chat can be offered within the ServiceNow agent inbox. At this point, the agent can accept the chat conversation and is presented with native ServiceNow chat-like experience. Additionally, the chat conversation or the transcript can also be used to drive next best actions, real-time recommendations, as well as post-call automation such as automatic chat summarization and resolution notes generation, which can further speed up the wrap-up process. Now let's take a look at callbacks. Similar to chats, CCaaS callbacks also have native experience within the ServiceNow agent workspace. But let's define callbacks. Let's say all agents are busy and wait times are long. Customers are often given option to drop off the line while still retaining their place in the queue. These callbacks are treated like just any other work item by the contact center platform. When an agent becomes available, the callback is routed to the agent, in this case via ServiceNow agent inbox, where the agent can see the callback context as well as choose a callback number before initiating an outbound call. Embedded component framework. So as you have seen, we are now providing native experience for contact center originated channels such as voice, chat, and callbacks. On that same note, if businesses are currently leveraging any tools within the contact center agent workspace, we wanted to make sure that you have the flexibility to bring in those tools seamlessly into the ServiceNow agent workspace as well. And embedded component framework allows just that. With this framework, you can bring in any components or any tools that the agent can access during an interaction, and those tools can be embedded anywhere within the agent workspace. As an example, Genesys had launched their components, embedded components, as part of the Q1 store release. They had launched out-of-the-box queue activation, agent stats, station settings, outbound queue selection. They had also launched embedded workforce engagement management within the ServiceNow agent workspace. What this means is agents at any time can switch to the WEM component embedded within the ServiceNow configurable workspace to monitor their scorecard, leaderboard, schedules, and more. This allows agents to stay within one unified interface and perform their day-to-day. Additionally, because of the native experience for contact center channels as well as unified routing, Genesys WEM has all the data, all the interaction data across all channels to power accurate scheduling and accurate forecasting. Now let's take a look at this in action. I'm already logged into ServiceNow configurable agent workspace. And clicking on the phone icon here, you can see I'm also logged into Genesys Cloud Platform. Now that I'm logged into both the platforms, let me first navigate to the embedded Genesys components before initiating an inbound call. So as you can see here, there are certain Genesys components that are already embedded here. Additionally, agent can also set their station settings directly from the ServiceNow agent workspace. If I switch back to the activity, you can see that the entire workforce engagement management module is also available to the agent at his fingertips, such as leaderboard, scorecard, and schedules, and more. Now switching back to the inbox, let me go ahead and change my status to available, so I'm eligible to receive incoming calls. This also updates Genesys presence to on queue.
Hi, Julie. I noticed you have an open case. The case number is BAL 00016061 with a description of requesting refund. Are you calling for help with that today?
Yes.
You're one of our valued customers, and I see your case is marked as high priority. Let me find the best available agent to help you.
Let me go ahead and accept the inbound call. Upon accepting the inbound call, agent has access to all the call controls such as mute, hold and hold, consult, and blind transfer. Additionally, agent can also get a sneak peek into the customer's history and past conversations. Customer information as well as related open cases are also available as part of the interaction record. And depending upon the reason for call, you can also see that related knowledge articles have automatically populated. At the end of the conversation, agent can go ahead and end the call. And as you can see, the interaction has changed to close complete. And the call control panel shows that the call has ended. Typically, if a wrap-up is configured, you'll also see a wrap-up modal automatically pre-populated. Wrap-up modal also has flexibility to enforce a timer if needed. Now, let's take a look at a demo where CCaaS originated chats have a native experience within CSM configurable agent workspace. Charlotte, who's missing a piece from her recent furniture order, decides to chat with a support agent. She initiates a chat request to the contact center's chat platform. The chat request is delivered straight into the ServiceNow CSM configurable workspace where the agent is already working on an existing case from Sam Collins. The agent sees the Charlotte's incoming chat request and accepts it, enjoying a fully integrated experience right within the same workspace. Although the chat request is from the contact center platform, all the context and tools are made available to the agent at his fingertips, with the exception of certain messaging controls that may not be supported by the specific contact center provider. Thus, ServiceNow's third-party chat integration framework enables contact center platforms to develop adapters that deliver a native-like experience for third-party messaging channels such as web chat, WhatsApp, and SMS. This ensures that the agents benefit from a consistent chat experience similar to the one they would have with a native ServiceNow chat. Now let's take a look at a demo where CCaaS originated callbacks have a native experience within ServiceNow configurable workspace. Before diving into the demo, let's define what callbacks are. Callbacks are offered by the contact center platforms, allowing customers to request a callback instead of waiting on hold. This way, they can retain their place in the queue and receive a call as soon as an agent becomes available, effectively reducing their wait time. In this scenario, let's see how these callbacks are delivered within the ServiceNow CSM configurable workspace. The agent is currently logged into the workspace and has their presence set to available. The moment they become available, the contact center platform delivers the callback directly within the ServiceNow agent inbox. This is the same place where agent can receive incoming chats, cases, and voice calls, all in one unified inbox. When the agent accepts the callback request, a new voice interaction page opens up, displaying specific callback components, such as callback actions panel, that allows the agent to select a customer's phone number and initiate a call or close the callback once the conversation is done. Meanwhile, the callback context panel provides additional context and valuable information about who the customer is and why they requested the callback, ensuring agent has all the context they need before initiating a call. Once the agent selects appropriate phone number and initiates a call, an active call window appears offering all the usual call controls such as mute, hold, and transfer. After the conversation wraps up, agent can end the call and a wrap-up modal automatically pops up, prompting the agent to select a wrap-up code and any necessary notes. Once the wrap-up is complete, the active call component switches back to actions, providing option to retry the call or close the callback. Alternatively, a timer begins after which the callback interaction automatically closes. Now let's take a look at a scenario where the agent accepts callback requests while within an unsupported workspace. Once the agent accepts the callback request, you will notice that the callback context panel as well as the callback actions panel, both are missing from this view. Instead, the same can be accessed via the global voice control component, which can be accessed via the phone icon. So the agent can select an appropriate phone number and initiate a call. Once the call is connected, the same call controls are also available within the global voice controls component. In this case, the customer did not answer the call. However, at any point in time, the agent can click on Open Interaction to switch back to a supported workspace. This streamlined process makes it easy for the agent to handle callbacks efficiently and provide consistent customer experience across all channels. And coming to the implementation part, I'm proud to share that Genesys is the first CCaaS partner to adopt it, with certified applications now live on the ServiceNow store as of Q1 2025. Other contact center providers such as Five9, NICE, Zoom, and 3CLogic are also working on updating the framework and are targeting to launch their applications before the end of the year. Going back to Genesys, now that we have certified applications available on the store, you can go ahead and leverage the comprehensive implementation guide that provides step-by-step guidance on what needs to be configured both on the ServiceNow side as well as Genesys. What should you do next? We would strongly recommend to first explore the comprehensive implementation guide that we have launched. It provides step-by-step guidance like I mentioned earlier. Also explore the certified applications on the ServiceNow store, both from the ServiceNow side as well as from our first CCaaS partner, Genesys, who has already launched several applications on the store that work with this framework. Third, connect with us one-on-one. If you have any questions and require implementation guidance, please reach out to myself or my colleague Prithvi Yoganand. Now, as we end this session, I wanted to make sure that you have access to some of these customer success tools to maximize the power of the AI platform for business transformation. Make sure you check out ServiceNow Impact, which provides customers with support and expertise they need to get the value fast. Also check out the training and certification, which helps build organizational talent to help maximize the business value and outcomes. Last but not least, check out our expert services, who can help implement and optimize ServiceNow with expert help. Thank you for joining the session today and have a great day.